Start this morning. I want you to know I highly recommend reading. I know Kathy Weaver, one of her, I think her word last year was learn, if that's right, or one of the times. When we are always trying to learn new things, new ways of doing things, new ideas, that's what helps you grow. It keeps you really in tune, keeps us from getting stagnant. And so I do love to read. I read a lot of a variety of things. I read, books on positive thinking and books on just empowerment and women and time management, all those kind of, self-help, as we call them, books. But also, I like to read novels. I like to read mysteries and detective things, and I love women mystery things. Trying to think it. I think I've read Janice Ivanovich's whole series of detectives. She has a woman detective that she writes about. But I do like to read books that are going to help me learn and help me grow. And so this is a book I'm going to recommend to y'all this morning. So I don't know if it shows up correctly. Looks like it comes out backwards. So I don't know how to make that not be backwards. But it is called The CEO of You, the Chief Energizing Officer. Yeah. And so the Chief Energizing Officer of You, your own uniqueness. Sometimes I think we like to give away our power to other people, and we don't realize that we really are in charge of ourselves, between you and God, what God has you doing. So I'm not saying that, but sometimes we allow what other people think we should do and how they want to put their parameters on us or the box they want to put us in. And so this book is really good. It's by Marcia Petrie Sue. And anyway, it's really good. It's got some great tips in it. And today, what I'm going to talk about is, are you a human being? Are you a human doing? And I think so often we wind up being, we so wind up as human doings because we're just always doing. You're doing your job if you're working a job for someone else, or running errands for people, or you're taking kids here and there, and your life becomes all about what I call busyness. And so what do we do about that? Because you can come to the end of a day and come to the end of a week and you feel like, my gosh, I've been going all week. I'm exhausted, but I didn't really get anything done. Have you ever felt like that? So anybody know what that feels like? It's trying to keep what they call that balance between home and work. And you want to spend time with your friends, but you feel like you don't have the time because, you're so busy doing these other things. And being busy robs you. It really robs you of joy. It robs you of some of your happiness. It robs you of just being able to breathe because you're so, and in our country, we have this thing, I think it's our badge of honor. Oh, we never rest. We just keep going all the time. And the truth is, that's why so many of our people, so many of you maybe, just feel stressed because you're just going all the time and you feel like you're doing all that you can do. But here's a couple of thoughts for you. We all have the exact amount of time. We all have 24 hours of the day. So how are you spending it? Are you planning it yourself? Are you spending your 24 hours a day doing what you want to do, the things that are important to you? Or do you find that you're spending the time doing more of what you think other people want you to do? And you get to that end of the week, and sometimes a month can go by or more, and you're saying, gosh, I really wanted to have this next chapter of my book written, but, I never got to it, right? Or whatever your thing is. Maybe you're wanting to write a book. Maybe you would like to get started telling your own life story. We've talked about that a lot, where you have a story to tell, and I'm so encouraging you to start writing it down. Like I've said before, it doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be in order, but start learning your own story. Know what your story is. What are those things those experiences that you've had? And you say, oh yeah, Delinda, you talked about that last month or 3 months ago. Yeah, I did. So let me know. Have you done anything toward that? Did you write anything down? Have you started taking notes? Because you're going to tell me, well, I just haven't had the time. Well, yeah, you had the time. It's just, it is your time. So what did you do with it? How did you choose to spend it? So it's important. And I think the first step that comes with that is taking a look at, and this is one of the most simple examples. You could take, and we had them in Mary Kay, and I think that's where I really got good at doing those. It was called a weekly plan sheet. And I know we all, I've now converted over. I can use my phone as my calendar. And for the most part, I like it. I do still kind of miss the writing down of things. But what you could just do, and you need a calendar that has not just, a little tiny square, but just for a few weeks, try this. And you could just print one off, even off the internet, and just that has all of the time, even in 15-minute increments, okay? And start writing down, what are you doing? So what is your consistent time? What do you do every day? So if you're at an office, you work for someone else, you have what we call the job, write down, where are you at your office? And do you have a lunch hour, a lunch break? Do you get an hour? Write those kind of things down. So from 8 to 12, you're at your job. Then you have a lunch break. Then you have from 1 to 5. Then when do you, if you already have something consistently that you're doing, like when do you do your, for instance, your inspiration time, your Bible study time, your prayer time, whatever that is. Do you do that in the mornings when you first wake up? So what time do you get up? At 6 o'clock, whatever that is for you. And then start filling that in. So maybe from... and if you're an entrepreneur and you're working on your own, you have a lot of those little sections to fill in. And just start putting in there, because until you really see where you're spending your time, because what I feel will happen is that as you write those things in, you'll find that you do have chunks of time that you're not using to your benefit. Maybe you have a half an hour that you actually could just walk out the door and go take a walk, that would feed your soul and feed your spirit. I'm not talking about filling it up with more doing, because remember, I'm talking about being a human being. Let's be. Take some time to refresh yourself and stop the busyness. Busyness, as I said, busyness is going to rob you of joy. So, one of the things to do is just really look at how you're spending your time, and then look at that, or make a list of the things that are really important to you. Is spending time with your family a priority? It depends on. I think for all of us it is, but is it just the driving time? Are you spending time actually taking your grandkids to the park, or spending the time after school really focused with your kids as they're starting their homework after school? Those, for me, I always felt like those hours right after school were really prime time. That's when they're kind of talkative and they're just joking around. And I found just by standing in the kitchen, they're getting a snack. I was really blessed to be a mom at home with my kids, so I could listen to their chit chat and their stories and all this. Now, if I ask them how was school, they're going to say fine, or what did you do at school? Oh, nothing. But if you just sort of hang back and just listen as they're chit chatting, that after school time is time. So for me, that was my blocked out time. That was my priority, is to have that time right there with the kids right after school. Then, after an hour or so, they would go on to do whatever they would do, up to their rooms for a while or something. So when you're laying out that time, really putting what your priorities are, and then looking at the one of the things that will rob you is interruptions. Now, y'all know what I'm talking about, right? We all have times when we just get interrupted, and if the phone rings during the time that you've set aside, so maybe it's dinner time. So dinner time is a priority, and in American families, that doesn't happen very much. So maybe you only have a couple of days a week that you're actually home having dinner at the table with your family. And I know with all of the sports that kids are in, piano lessons, dance lessons, all of those things, that is a hard time to figure out how to make that happen. So maybe it doesn't, except on the weekends. So whenever you're having time together as a family, have you set the priority because you want that time to not be on the phones? That's a rule. Nobody's on the phone. And if the phone rings, too bad. Whoever that is can leave a message. Most of us grew up when that wasn't even an option. So somehow people will get a hold of you later, or they'll leave you a message if it's that important. I find most of the time the phone rings and I don't get a message, so it wasn't really that important anyway if they don't want to leave me a message, right? So it's like, how can you not just be doing, but enjoying and being, that time of being with your family? being just at peace. Okay, I'm going to look here and see if I've had any other comments here. I'm looking down. Hey, Jennifer, good morning. Oh, Donna, good morning. Brandy, Lisa, Roxana, hey there. I sent you a message, by the way. Check your email. There's another Jennifer, Michelle Cruz. Yay. Some more of our Kansas City gals. Love that. All right. So anybody have any comments about some things that you have learned, or something that's really a priority that you don't allow to get interrupted in your life? I'd love to hear back from you as far as what things that you do that you don't allow people to interrupt, or that is such a priority that takes precedence over anything else that you're doing. Okay, I'm reading down the thing to see if I have any people. Okay, cool. So if you're looking, so maybe you have a to-do list, all right? So most of us do, you have one in your head, but do you write it down? So you could write down on your to-do list. Maybe you have a to-do list per day. Maybe you have a to-do list that you're going to do this week. So when you do that, so you get to pick and choose. First of all, you get to pick and choose what's on your list, right? So then as you go down and you're looking at your list, maybe look at each of those lists and say, okay, so I get to pick and choose, so I'm going to do this one, and maybe do a little comparison. So on item 1 and 2, which one of those is the most important? Okay, so maybe number 1 is your number 1 important. So then take that and look down, well, how about between 1 and 3? So is 1 more important than 3? Okay, good. So now, move those down the list and kind of go down and see what really are your most important things that are actually on your list. And first of all, the other question to ask yourself is this going to get me closer to my goal? So maybe one of your goals, you have some goals for your business, of whatever your business goal might be, whether it's a sales goal or a team building goal, whatever that may be, but also your family goals of spending quality time together, finding those moments to really enjoy that time. So when you're looking at your list and you ask yourself, okay, is this particular thing getting me closer to my goal? Well, not really. It's just something I have to do. So that may be one of those that maybe just gets totally crossed off. Or maybe, so is it getting it closer to my goal of my family, of, making special time, or is it getting me closer to my business goal? And if not, well, then do I need to do it, or can somebody else do it? That's the other thing. How can you delegate that? So I see somebody did put something. Let me scroll down here. Michelle, I spend 30 minutes in the morning with God, and and I do not do anything. I am in the sanctuary, aka my office. I don't answer the phone or anything. God is most important. That is awesome. So you set that is your uninterruptible time. So that is that priority. So that takes precedence over anything else. So that is great. Let me see here. Let's see. Jennifer Trent, I'm learning no is a sentence when I'm looking for a goal. I am not saying never, just not right now. Awesome. That is a great one, really. Learning to say no is power. Oh my gosh. Because when you look at that, it's like, is this what you really want, or are you just doing it because you think you should? So learning to say no, being gracious about it. Sometimes it's saying no to yourself, like, okay, Delinda, I really don't need that brownie right now. I can say no to myself, right? And sometimes I'm the one that I need to say no to the most. Or you're saying no to somebody asking you to do something, a favor that you just feel like isn't something that you can do right now, or that your time that you're going to spend doing XYZ over here is more important. So yes, that is great. Lisa Marsh, dinner time at our house is a priority. I was raised that way, and I'm raising my kids that way. Let me see if I can read the rest of that. Let's see. I also take time in the morning after I take the kids to school, or kids to the bus, to spend time with the Lord. Awesome. That is great. And hi, Katie. Katie Nichols is on this morning. Oh, I love hearing your comments, you guys. Keep posting here. Yes, I love the no phone during dinner or family time. the phone can rule your life. The other night, well, Bill and I, when I'm in Kansas City in particular, Bill and I go out just about every night just because that just works well for us. And so, so often, and just last week, for instance, we were out, and I don't even remember what restaurant it was, doesn't matter. But I looked across the room, and it was sad to me that so many, there were a few couples, and both people were on their phone doing something. I don't know, maybe they were texting each other. People do that, because I know they do. Texting each other or texting somebody else, or maybe they were talking to their kids. I don't know. But they weren't talking to each other. And the only time Bill and I will answer or do anything on our phone during dinner is because my phone, like most of you, my phone is set up on ringers for my kids. So I know if it's Justin or I know if it's Alicia. So those are the only two that will interrupt our time together. And every so often, Bill will, be finishing up on a thing and I say, okay, so what are you reading? Oh, I'm just finishing. Oh, okay. So finishing up an email. Yeah. Okay. Well, that's it. So, it's easy to do, you guys. I know it is to just keep extending your work day or whatever while you're sitting and eating. But really, if you'll just make that little change, you'll notice a big difference. And it becomes, then you can really be in the moment. I love the saying, bloom where you're planted, because wherever you are, be there. If you are, because here's what I see happening, and I was like this so much of my life, and I guess that's why I'm so in tune to that. So when my kids were little, my kids were only 20 months apart, so my life was fairly overwhelming for those first 5 years. So it was really, so much, and I felt, very, and I loved it. Okay, I'm not complaining. I'm just saying it was a very busy time, and then when you start doing things for yourself and going out. So when you're, while I would be doing one thing, I'd be thinking about the other. So for instance, so this was as they were a little bit older. When I'm with my kids, I'm thinking, well, I could be, for instance, when I was doing Mary Kay, thinking, oh man, I should be making these phone calls, or, I should be doing this or this. And then when I'm working on my Mary Kay stuff, then I would be thinking, oh my gosh, I should be spending this time with my kids. Do you ever feel that thing in your brain that's pulling you apart saying, oh my gosh, I should be doing this when you're already doing something over here? So my best advice to you, that I finally stopped that and finally decided wherever I was going to be there. When I'm with my kids, and now, we don't get that much time. I'm in Kansas City, but I'm not with my kids all the time. So when we're with our kids, I'm going to be there. I'm not going to be thinking about my next appointment, my next thing I should do, my next trip back home to Las Vegas, whatever. I'm going to really be present in that moment, because I don't want to miss any moments. And I know you don't either. The other thing is, then when I am working, when I'm in Kansas City and holding my lunches and out with the ladies doing the Fun Fearless Female things or giving a speech somewhere, I'm not going to be worrying about or thinking about, the next thing I have, or what am I going to do? Let's see, how am I going to handle this when I get back to Las Vegas, or whatever those thoughts might be. You know what they are. Sometimes it's harder to just bring them to the front. So I'm going to really be present. That one thing, if you could just change that one thing, if you're not, you may do that already, but if you could just change that one thing of being present wherever you are, you'll find much more peace in your life, and you become more about just being there and not just doing. Because when you're always just racing from one thing to the next, you're not enjoying any of them, and your feelings just pressure and tied, pulled apart all the time. Does that make sense? All right, let me see here if we have any other comments. All right, just checking through here. All right, sorry, I can't read and talk and move the screen at the same time. So the other thing, this was a neat little one of the things that she brought up in this book is about procrastination, and we all tend to We all tend to procrastinate, says all human beings do, all of us humans do. I like to call it creative avoidance. I am really good at creative avoidance. If there's something that I just really don't want to do or I'm putting off at doing, I can find so many ways to do something else. Like, I just really must need to put that next load of laundry in, or I really need to do this or that because it's something I really maybe don't want to do or I'm putting off doing. So somewhere you just have to stop, and maybe if you're putting it off, you just don't really need to do it. In that case, give it to somebody else or take it off your list. Or if you do, what I find, and I don't know about you guys, you can answer this if you want, but what I find is so often the thing I'm putting off, once I sit down to do it, doesn't take nearly as long as I thought it was going to. I don't really hate it as much as I thought. One of the ones I don't enjoy, and that I do tend to procrastinate or put off till the last minute, is doing bookwork. I like being organized, that kind of thing, but when it comes to doing just the filing of the bills or that kind of stuff, it's like, okay, this is just so boring. I don't even like to do it. Yeah, Allison. Yeah, creative avoidance. That's a good one. I like that word better than procrastination, but basically the same. So, but then once I sit down to do it, it never takes as long as I think. And then when I'm done, I love it because I really like things to have order. I mean, it doesn't have to be perfect because I'm not into perfect, but it does feel good when, the things are filed and everything's in its place, because then I feel free to go on to the next task. So I found sometimes just to do the thing that I least want to do first. That's another little key that I've learned about myself, and maybe that'll help you, is that if I do the thing that I'm most not wanting to do, it gives me more freedom, because then when I do it, it's done. I don't have to think about it anymore, and usually it's not as bad as I thought. So another little trick. So gosh, we are already at the end of our half hour. I always like to stay within this parameter. This is sort of what we've set up. I never really put it out there that this is what it is, but like to keep that, because I know y'all have other things to do with your day besides stay on the call here with me. I so appreciate you. Thank you so much for coming and being a part. Think about that as you go along this week. Really being present wherever you are. When you're with your kids, be present with them and pay attention. When you're at a business meeting, be present, pay attention. You might really learn something that's going to help you for that next phase of your business. When you're with a client, really be present with them, because you're going to have better success, whatever your goal is with that client, when they know that you really are tuned into them and giving them the most important. So really do that. You'll just find so much more joy in your life. And on your list, if it's not important, if it doesn't meet the priorities of your life, then just get rid of it. It's okay. You can just ditch that right off your list, because it's your choice. Everything's your choice, right? So guys, thank you so much. You're so awesome. Thanks for sharing your time with me. And as I like to close everything, I want to always remind you that life is not a matter of chance. It's a matter of choice. Choose wisely, go out and make it a great week. And for goodness sake, make a difference as you go. Bye, and I'll see you next week. Bye.